Now I can't find it.
Whoa. Okay.
Hold on. I was just looking at it too.
It's okay, man. I can go back. I can talk to. We haven't even gotten to migration and Libya and all of that. So okay, so a record 90 migrants were intercepted and brought to Dover. That's in England, and 90 migrants in. Is my mic on? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, 90 migrants in one day, and so, they were from Iraq, Iran, Eritrea, Afghanistan, Syria, and Yemen. So one of the things. So now we're going to move to Libya in North Africa. A bunch of Europeans met to talk about ending the war in Libya. Hardly any Libyans were there. Oh, does anybody remember? I've been rewatching Boardwalk Empire. Did you ever watch that?
Yeah, that was out on HBO years ago, right?
Yeah. Remember Dr. Narcisse?
Yes, I remember that name.
Oh my God, man. Well, that's what he calls black people, Libyans.
Oh boy.
So there's the scene when he first meets Chalky White, and because Chalky owns a nightclub, segregated, and so Dr. Narcisse is up above, and Dr. Narcisse says, the Libyan owns the nightclub, but the Libyan cannot enter the nightclub. And Chalky goes like, there ain't no Libyans here. Man, Chalky White was the fucking coolest character. Oh my God. He needed his own series. He was
HBO
awesome.
is good for that though, man.
Yeah.
They cut them shows off when they get good. They just cut it off and let them go. I don't know why.
Well, everybody. It went on for 5 seasons. No, it was.
That was pretty long, I guess.
Yeah. They kind of people kept killing people off. Now it was ready. It was done when it was done. But yeah, it was such a great ensemble film. So anyway, real Libyans from Libya. Oh, that's what he says. Dr. Narcisse says, I am a Libyan. You are a Libyan. And Chalky says, I'm from Texas.
Wow.
Yes. So we were talking about Libyans, not African Americans. So the EU has agreed to deploy warships to stop the flow of weapons into Libya, but there was opposition because people in Europe are worried that the warships that are supposed to blockade the weapons would be picking up refugees and migrants that were drowning. So in other words, they're saying okay, well, we want you guys to stay there and prevent weapons from getting there. But if you see any migrants drowning, just leave them. Basically, to counter objections that the operation could morph into a rescue. See, people oh no weapons, and no, we want to stop the weapons, and but if everybody drowns, then we don't need to worry about that. World promised that the ships. Okay, they promised that the ships would be withdrawn if they encourage people to attempt the risky crossing from Libya to Europe. Okay, that's encourage. Okay, so if you need to try and help make a situation that people don't. You need to, instead of blocking refugees, use that effort to get in and help improve the situation so that they don't become refugees.
Right.
Okay, this commitment helped lift opposition to the mission from Italy and Austria, profoundly racist places, whose government had blocked an early compromise. Basically, former countries that were colonized by Italy are trying to get the fuck out because they're in danger, and Italy just wants them to drown. In other words, listen to this. Libya arms embargo is a joke, says UN envoy. I'm like, damn, that is not the kind of language you usually hear from UN envoys.
It's a new time now.
It sure is. Yes. Okay. So, oh my God. In Australia, the High Court has decided that Aboriginal Australians are not aliens for the purpose of the Constitution. A major defeat for the deportation of... Okay, so basically, they want to... Aboriginal Australians are indigenous. Everyone else is aliens. So basically, what they were saying was that Aboriginal, indigenous Australians were in other places because, and the government was trying to prevent them from going to the place which they are indigenous to. Mm-hmm. Kind of like the state of Israel. So... that is crazy, man. Okay, so is everybody indigenous to somewhere? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I think they are.
Yeah, I guess so.
I think in some ways everybody is.
Indigenous to somewhere.
It's just you'd have to find out where, but yeah, mostly everybody is indigenous to somewhere.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, and Aborigines is a weird one. Because I always wondered about them.
What?
I mean, like...
they're indigenous to Australia.
I know, but what their situation was with Australia.
Oh.
Like, I don't ever hear anything about them. I just see them on movies. Or shows or something. I never just...
Well, England sent prisoners to Australia, and... like as Europeans do, they got there and took over, basically. I don't know that much about Australia, though. I do know that much.
Because they kind of got a weird look to them. They're really dark, but they got straight hair.
Yeah.
It's really a different look, so to speak.
Yeah. So, I read a memoir by Georgia Davis Powers, who was the first Black person and the first Black woman to be elected as a state senator in Kentucky, and she was also lovers with Martin Luther King and was there at the hotel where he was killed. She was in her room.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so she ran out there, and she would travel to meet him in different cities where he was, and so she was there, and then she was going to get into the ambulance, but she didn't, to try and prevent a scandal. But other people, she wrote about the affair after Ralph Abernathy did, basically. So, that was rough. But she was friends with Martin Luther King's brother first. She knew him. So, who I guess, had a pretty serious drinking problem, and they were pretty... There's a lot of, that whole family was under a lot of pressure. So, the second president of Kenya, who was president from 1978 to 2002, Daniel Arap Moi, died age 95. Okay, there's Jomo Kenyatta. Okay, so yeah, he succeeded Kenyatta and then was succeeded by Kenyatta. Kind of amazing. And so the first 30,000 people to arrive at his funeral got snacks. They publicized that because they were worried that not enough people would come. Yes. So then the Rohingya Muslims who are currently in refugee camps in Bangladesh, at least 15 were dead and many were missing. There was a lot more. This was a little old. after overloaded vessel apparently trafficking refugees to Malaysia sank. So basically, I mean, the migrant camps are just people that live there are just complete victims to being exploited, and people, I mean, get somehow, extort money from them to get into an overloaded vessel, and stuff like that happens. So Bangladesh is allowing the children of the Rohingya to be educated. So, I mean, there's like 100,000 people in that refugee camp, and the UN and the International Court of Justice has demanded that Myanmar stop abusing the Rohingya. And my understanding is that the Rohingya are like, yeah, right, they need a lot, they need a lot more protection than that. Okay, so, and then in Burundi, more than 6,000 bodies have been found in 6 mass graves. And the government launched a nationwide excavation in January. Burundi had the same problems as Rwanda with the Hutus and Tutsis fighting each other. And Burundi became...
Is that still going on? Or have they finally stopped
Not
that?
in Rwanda, but yeah, in Burundi. Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, because it's the same tribes.
Okay. You think they would have got over that by now?
I know, huh? And nearly 600 people who fled political violence in Burundi have been repatriated voluntarily from Tanzania amid warnings from the country that it plans, to return all Burundi. Yeah, so people have gone from Burundi to Tanzania seeking refuge from the Hutus and Tutsis wars, and Burundi, and Tanzania is planning to send them all back. So since independence in 1962, it has been plagued by tensions between the Tutsis, the Hutus, and then so I was reading about Cameroon, because they're having serious violence between the English-speaking minority and the French-speaking majority. And apparently, Cameroon had been a colony, but then after World War II, it was split between France and England. So that's where they got that linguistic divide. So there's a lot of human rights abuses going on there too. Okay. And in the Utah State Senate voted unanimously on Tuesday to decriminalize polygamy among consenting adults, reducing penalties. Then it says the bill, which would treat the offense of plural marriage as a simple infraction on par with a parking ticket. See, I think people should be able to marry, do whatever they want with stuff like that. But I don't know. I do not think people should be able to there's should be able to get benefits and stuff. I don't think you should be able to get but I mean, if that's how you want to live your life, if you're adults, there's problems with are a lot of problems with abuse of women and girls in polygamy, but that you need to go after the abusers, not people that are living that way of their own free will. I mean, it's the same logic as prostitution legal. If you put something in the open and then you make it easier for people that need help to get help. Because if people are doing something, if people are being victimized into doing something illegal, they can be scared to leave because they're scared they're getting in trouble and go to jail. But whereas if it's not illegal, then people that want to get out of a situation can more easily. That's the idea.
Wow.
That is the logic. It's kind of like I was, you shouldn't be able to something shouldn't be outlawed because there's problems with it. Like I was listening to an interview with somebody who was saying that like the justification for the state of Israel being a Jewish state is that Jews have historically been oppressed and there needs to be a place where they can go and be safe. But I'm like, no, that is not a justification. Try, and if there's problems in countries, you need to try and work with and deal with that. It's not like everybody that's being oppressed everywhere can just go to Israel. So
right.
Yeah, that's not a reason. And like, what about all a lot of, so yeah, that is not a reason. Abuse in polygamy is not a reason to outlaw polygamy. Okay, so a film I just watched a film, Chappaquiddick, about Ted Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
You remember Chappaquiddick? It was this senator in 1969. Senator Ted Kennedy drove his car off a bridge with a young woman in the car who died, and he didn't report it for 10 hours. So that's considered, because you probably, like when you say Chappaquiddick, people know that's what you mean.
I never heard that term.
Yeah, I think my family's so into politics. I mean, I even knew it when I was a little kid. I mean, you just knew that Chappaquiddick was the scandal. It took me a while before I even realized that it was a place.
So Chappaquiddick, is it only to that certain scandal, or is that like...
Yeah, well, it's an island. The island is named Chappaquiddick.
Oh, so when you say it brings
That's
back
what it means.
the lady that he drove.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there was a book written called The Bridge at Chappaquiddick.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, it's a little island in Massachusetts.
Okay, gotcha.
But it happened, it was 1969, and so it's considered to have been, to have made it impossible, because it was right after this woman, Mary Jo Kopechne, and her friends had worked for Bobby Kennedy, and then this was after Bobby Kennedy was assassinated, so they were all, wait a minute. Was it that long ago? But I mean, people always bring it up, I mean, the same way that, 19, oh, okay, so Bobby Kennedy was assassinated in 1969. Or 68. Okay. But the same way, like when you when you say Monica Lewinsky, everybody knows you mean Bill Clinton. When you say Chappaquiddick, I mean basically it followed Ted Kennedy for the rest of his life, but he got away with it. Like what he said that. Nobody really knows what happened. He said that he drove off the bridge and that he swam down a couple times to try and get Mary Jo out. Nobody knows if that's true or not. And then he claims he got out of the car and, he got out of the car and swam up, and then he claims he swam down to try and get her. Nobody knows if that's true. And so then he went back to the house where his friends were, and he walked by like several homes where he could have called for help and didn't. And so then he claims he went back he got his friends and they drove back to try and get her. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, you think she's still going to be alive? and they claimed that they dove down to try and get her out a couple times.
Yeah, about 10 hours.
That was within an hour, supposedly. But even then, I mean, it was a boat in the bottom of the water. I mean, and when, so they told him to report it and left. And so basically, the car was found, and he still hadn't reported it. And
so you think he did it purposely?
Of course.
Why would he have done it purposely?
Oh, no, then he drove off the bridge personally?
Yeah.
Oh, no, he was drunk.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, so that's.
He was drunk, and they were just going to go party. You know, I mean,
Right.
they were going to go screw around, and yeah. So he was just trying to like cover up all that. So, it was said in the car there would have been some air pockets. So it was said that, you know, like
if he would have hurried up, he could have probably saved.
Yeah, or I mean, if he would have like immediately, like if he would have gone to the closest house and called for help, they might have been able to save her, because it was said that she was found like with her head in an air pocket, trying to, you know,
to save herself.
Yeah.
Or try to. Hopefully, she was probably hoping someone would get her before she. Man,
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So in the film, it was really sad in the film, because it showed the film showed her trying to get out, and then she starts saying Hail Mary. She starts praying, basically, in the film, so he claimed that like he was in shock or something, and that's why he didn't immediately call, and he got away with it. I mean, you know, it was a scandal, but he got away with it, because guys like him get away with stuff like that.
Normal person that would have been it.
Exactly. You know, and he was married. You know, he went to her funeral with, and you know, his wife accompanied him to her funeral. You know, she's just thinking like, you asshole, but you know, I mean, that's what they did back then. In you know, some of them still do in politics. So yeah, he issued a statement. You know, yeah, it was just crazy. Like 10 hours, he got a citation or something. So he was supposedly going to. He was being touted as a presidential candidate in 1972, and he did not run in 72. He ran in 80, and that was really weird, because he challenged President Carter. He challenged the incumbent, so that was really crazy. I remember, you know, but I remember it seemed really weird at the time, because you know, he probably helped by doing that. He probably helped get Reagan into office, but. You know, he probably didn't care. But, you know, I mean, one of the things is people just loved the Kennedys. So I think that was part of it too. You know, I mean, Jack Kennedy had been killed and Bobby Kennedy had been killed. So I think people were a little bit like, oh, well, poor old Teddy Kennedy, you know, he just wanted a little action. So, but yeah, so that was yeah, the film was okay. I'm not sure why I mean, it was about an era, kind of, or like, okay, this is how it all worked back then. I mean, it's kind of weird to make films because like there were scenes of him and his team trying to figure out what to do, and it's weird because you realize this is all of that's invented, like everything. So it's sort of weird that you can make a film and nobody knows what happened then. Nobody knows what the conversations were that they had. It's kind of weird, him in his war room, basically, you know.
Right.
It was like basically a whole group of men like standing around, and then because it was just like a small town, and so like the coroner was just going to do whatever they said because he was the Kennedys. So Yeah, so it's sort of weird when you can make a film like, because I think a lot of people wouldn't even realize how much of that was made up. So, dramatization. But when the woman that played Mary Jo Kopechne played Zoe Barnes in House of Cards, which was a really great political drama. And Zoe Barnes played a journalist who got involved with a congressman, and he killed her. So it was sort of a weird. I think actors just want, so that's the kind of the reason I wanted to see it, because when, what's her name? Oh, Kate Mara. When she was cast as Mary Jo Kopechne, it just seemed really kind of strange that to have her do it. You're like, I guess she likes playing. I guess she likes playing girls that like get in bad situations with politicians. So that was pretty. It was a pretty good film. Good film though. But seriously, you say Chappaquiddick. I didn't even know it was a place.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known until you just told me.
Yeah.
Now I know. If anybody ever says Chappaquiddick, I know now.
Yep.
Ooh.
Yep.
Learn something new on Global History Night, y'all. You
do.
Learn stuff every night with the Global History Show, y'all.
I knew about all that. I was way too young to know about all that when I did. I was really...
Nothing wrong with that, but that's good that you were informed. A lot of people don't know.
I was informed about a lot of stuff that I did not need to be informed about when I was young.
It's meant to happen for a reason. You were informed for a reason.
Yeah. So I could grow up and have a radio show.
There you go.
There you go.
It's usually how it works.
Yep.
Spread the knowledge.
Yep. So March 14th, I'm going to be screening a film at 1405 Georgia at Izzy's Event Space, and it's a film.
Oh yeah, no, go ahead.
It's a film I've screened before called "You Don't Have to Ride Jim Crow," and it's about the journey of reconciliation, about an interracial group of bus riders that went through the South to challenge Jim Crow seating after.
What day?
Saturday, March 14th.
March 14th. Did you need me to DJ it, or you?
I don't think so.
You just want to keep it like a video? Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate it. No, we should. It kind of need. I mean, because really, it's like I don't know, because it doesn't even. I mean, it would be fun to do it for something different, but see, in my events a lot of the time, people have a lot to talk about, so they're fine before something starts just talking. And then we'll be talking afterward.
Good deal.
But I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, so I'll be showing that. I'm going to do another show in April. I do not yet know what it will be. So it might be another Ralph Bunch event. I am waiting to hear if Pastor Quick can speak at it. And if not, I'm going to do something else. Which I'm pleased about, because I realized, wow, I could do something. I kind of want to do something completely different. So I don't know, some film different than any sort of thing that I've shown before, and so I'm looking through to try and figure that out, to find some. Because what happened was I booked a spot in A and heard back, and I was going to show the Jim Crow film there, but then I heard back from Izzy with the March spot. So then I was like, okay, well maybe I'll do another in April. Because, you just got to keep going with Ralph Bunch. Okay, and then on Netflix, 6-part documentary about Malcolm X, about the assassination of Malcolm X. And it's kind of strange that it's 6 parts. I was really excited. I was watching it. I think I was watching it after our last show. It has a lot of great footage, but basically 3 men were put in jail for killing Malcolm X, and 2 of them insisted they were innocent, and one of them admitted that he was part of it and also said that the other two guys weren't part of it. So, but they were still stuck in prison and were released. They were both released like after serving a whole lot of time. There was cases were brought showing that evidence was finally brought showing that they weren't even there, and so the documentary is from the perspective of this guy, just kind of regular person that starts doing his own investigation. Netflix loves stuff like that, and he found out who the people that assassinated Malcolm X probably were, and one of them, because they said the guys that they had accused, two of the guys that had been accused of doing it, were from the same mosque as they were from New York City, and they were saying, like, you know, if a hit was ordered, it never would have been from. It would have been from somebody out of town. It would have been a mosque so it was a mosque from New Jersey. So that's sort of wild to me, because I was like, well, New Jersey is barely out of town from New York City, but I guess, you know, especially in that era, it was out of town enough so that people wouldn't know each other.
Know who they are.
Yeah.
So I guess they consider if they had someone do it at a nearby mosque, of course.
Yeah. But New Jersey's still pretty near.
Yeah, but maybe
not as near.
If they have a lot of mosques, maybe it's not really that near.
Yeah. You know, and in those days, it's not, people didn't move around as much as they do now. So, but one of the guys who is believed assassinated Malcolm X, like, basically it was one of those things where the guy who was investigating it went to New Jersey, and it was one of those, like, oh, everybody knows who did it, but nobody will say. You know how
with the Biggie and Tupac kind of stuff, where people kind of know what's going on, but ain't nobody gonna say too much about it.
Yeah, and even
that's a big thing with the Black American, African American community, with that kind of stuff, is when something happens, especially with people who are known. It's like people know, but they're just not gonna.
That's what they said.
They don't want to get killed themselves, or they don't want nothing to come back at them.
Yeah, but so apparently one of the guys kind of became like a real pillar of the community, and he interviews Senator Cory Booker, who, you know, was. Also ran for president because Cory Booker knew the guy, and so because Cory Booker was really part of New Jersey. I mean, he knows everyone.
He lived
he did.
I remember when he did that thing on HBO.
Yeah.
Did you see it?
Yeah. And so, like, that guy's in one of Cory Booker's campaign videos, and he knew him. So he's interviewing Cory Booker, and then he asks him if he knew about it, and you can tell Cory Booker was like, I never heard that, and he starts to ask him, and he does, he does the responsible thing. Cory Booker just says, we need to be careful about making accusations and stuff. He's a politician, but
he might have heard some stuff, but
I don't think he did.
You don't think he did?
No, I don't think he's going to be that. I don't think he's. Well, if he didn't grow up in the community.
Yeah, but you'd be surprised.
No, he moved there as like a community. Was mayor. That's not the person that you're going to be talking to.
Yeah, but when stuff like that's been a long time ago. You can probably hear stories.
Well, yeah,
from people.
but
Not necessarily people are gonna just come up and tell.
I don't think the mayor senator is somebody that people are gonna be talking to about that stuff.
Yeah,
that
but
much.
he was kind of seemed like he was kind of cool with the people. I could see some.
But
I can see some people just telling him. You gotta understand at this point now. It's been so long ago. It's not the same. How can I say? It's not the same relevance. It's not like if you tell someone, people are going to be like... It
was even closer, but back when Cory Booker first moved there...
So, they do that now with Tupac and Biggie. You hear all kinds of stuff, and you'll have cops that'll come out and, oh, we heard this guy did something and do something. But, it's been so long now that, like you said, when something gets told, you know, it could be, you could be told anything by now. It could have changed up so much by now.
Well, that's kind of what people, because then, so the guy went around, he was asking different people in that community, and he was just basically told by a lot of people, leave it alone.
Right.
You know.
It's a leave it alone situation.
Yeah.
A lot of them probably, don't know, even if they heard something, they probably don't know the full story of it anyway. Yeah. And the ones that do, they're probably so old now that they probably just...
That was kind of how they felt.
Yeah, like, we're not going to even worry about it now. It's what's done is done.
Yeah, and then he talked to one of the guys who'd been released, and it was really sad. It showed him, he was talking with the guy, and he was trying to get him to get involved in this, and he's going, well, don't you want to clear your name? And the guy just said, they're not going to give me anything.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, when stuff like that happens.
Yeah.
That's big. I mean, I don't know, man. When that years.
The mic?
Years. Well, they can hear me. I talk loud.
Okay.
Years and years down the line, it's not gonna really affect people. It's just like now, every couple of years, they have a stupid thing on Biggie and Tupac. I mean, it's like ridiculous to me now, where there's another cop that saw something, and there's somebody else that the cop talked to that saw something that nobody else saw, and it gets to a point where it's like that, to where it gets too much, and like someone like him that's probably been in prison, he probably just wants to be out and be left alone now.
Well, yeah,
you know,
it's
just, I mean, you know, and then like I said back then, the way the political stance of that whole situation.
Yeah.
You know, and then you have like the FBI part of it.
Well, yeah, and
they probably are like, we want to leave it alone. We don't want to stir up any old demons. You know, we want to just try to move on.
Yeah. And then, so then he wanted to. And then another one of the people he wanted to talk to died just before he was going to meet him. But so anyway, it was weird because it didn't. I don't know, man. I'm not even sure how it took so many episodes, because I actually didn't. I felt like it wasn't. I mean, there was a lot of cool archival footage, and it was cool to hear some of the people, but I didn't really learn anything that I didn't already know from reading.
Probably, just for ratings, just to keep it,
Well, it's great. And a lot of people don't know.
Right, they're not going to throw everything.
A lot of people don't.
They want to get people in. How they do with shows. They want to make you think that something new's coming about, and then you're like, I already knew this. And they interviewed one of the agents that had been monitoring Malcolm X. So that was kind of interesting. Right. Yep.
Spying on him, and so it's about that time.
It is that time.
Okay, well, James, thank you, James, for listening, and thank you to everybody else that listened tonight.
Yes, thank you very much, James.
Yes, our friend.
Sitting up here with Anna.
That's right. Global History Night. We will be back. We'll be back in about 2 weeks.
Yes, we will.
Okay. Good night.